Picture a steel tube lying on the ocean floor, 30 inches wide, about the size of a large storm drain. Now picture yourself lying inside it, on your back, in total darkness. Your shoulders touching both walls. No room to turn over. No room to sit up. Just enough space to exist. 4 men spent their last days trapped inside that tube, and they knew help wasn't coming. On February 25th, 2022, in warm waters off the coast of Trinidad, near Pointe-à-Pierre, 5 commercial divers were carrying out what should have been routine maintenance on an underwater oil pipeline at Berth 6, a facility operated by Paria Fuel Trading Company, Trinidad's state-owned fuel supplier. The team included Christopher Boudram, Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Faisal Kurban, and Rishi Nagasar, all experienced divers, all professionals. They were working inside a hyperbaric chamber, an underwater habitat pressurized to provide a dry working environment 16 meters below the surface. The task was straightforward. Remove an inflatable plug from inside the pipeline. The plug had been inserted to seal the line and prevent remaining hydrocarbons from escaping into the environment. At around 3 p.m., GoPro footage captured Kazim Ali Jr. collecting a wrench and handing it to Chris Boudram. Normal work, routine movements. His team started loosening the inflatable plug. What they didn't know was that the pipeline beyond the plug was essentially a vacuum. It had been drained of oil weeks earlier, leaving an empty space where temperature changes, trapped air, or the weight of the ocean itself had created dangerously low pressure. This scenario is known as delta P, differential pressure, where the pressure difference can generate thousands of pounds of force in an instant. The moment the plug loosened, chaos erupted. Seawater exploded into the chamber. A vortex formed, drilling down into the pipeline opening. The water rushed in with an estimated 7 tons of force, sweeping all 5 divers with it. For 95 seconds, they were thrown through the metal pipeline like rag dolls, their bodies slamming against steel walls as they barreled through the tube at unbelievable speeds. Their lungs screamed for air, their bodies convulsed. Then, suddenly, they skidded to a stop. The horror of their new reality set in slowly. They were entombed inside a claustrophobic, 30-inch diameter metal pipeline, 16 meters below the ocean surface. Their eyes burned from the oil residue coating the interior of the pipe. Each breath stung their lungs from the remaining fumes. Chris Boudram would later testify about those first moments.
In a second, it was like, oh, Nido, everything just spinning and beating you up, and it happened so fast. You couldn't react. I didn't even remember actually getting pulled in the pipe. I just remember going hurled through the pipe at unbelievable speeds. Couldn't hold my breath no longer, man. Throat. When you're holding your breath for too long, after a while, your body, your lungs just fight to try to gas your breath, and when you're forcing your airways close, you see a noise. Your body suffering to pull air. Unbelievable nightmare. Eyes burning. Every time you try to open your eyes, it's burning. You're pitch black, you can't see nothing. Your throat burning. Your ears ringing. Your body sore. And at that point, I tell myself I was going to dead.
But remarkably, all 5 divers had survived the initial event. They found themselves trapped inside the pipeline in an air bubble created by undulations of the seafloor. For a moment, there was panic, but also relief. They were alive, conscious. They called out to each other in the darkness. Chris Boudram realized his left arm was badly hurt, possibly dislocated or fractured. His ankle, too. The others called out with similar injuries. Despite the pain, adrenaline kicked in. They had to find a way out. But the divers didn't know exactly how far they'd been pulled or which direction they were facing. One end of this pipeline led back to the subsea habitat where they'd come from. The other way led to Berth 5, an onshore refinery that had been firmly sealed for the repairs. After some debate, they made their best guess and started dragging their battered bodies through the pipeline. As they moved, they came across an oxygen tank. They took turns sipping from it, keeping clean air in their systems, fighting off the impending nausea and delirium. The going was slow. They slipped against the pipe residue. Their injuries made every movement agony. Several of the men could only move for moments at a time before exhaustion forced them to rest. Then they noticed another problem. The water level in the pipeline was slowly rising as they headed into a downward section of the line. They continued onward on their backs until Chris Boodram had only 6 inches of air remaining between his nose and the top of the pipeline. It was around this time that Chris came across a second oxygen tank, and a terrible realization. They couldn't continue like this together. Chris, still able to move forward, made a decision. He would take one of the 2 oxygen tanks and push on to find help, leaving the other 4 men behind in the darkness to rest in a small air pocket, sharing whatever breathable air remained. Chris used his remaining good arm and legs to pull himself through the flooded pipeline. As the water filled the tunnel entirely, he flipped onto his front, pushing the tank ahead of him, and started to swim. He didn't know if he was headed towards safety or deeper into trouble. Slowly, he started to notice it became harder and harder to draw air from the tank. His oxygen supply was running out. His only hope was finding another air pocket somewhere within the pipeline. Each breath got harder to pull in. He took what he believed was his final breath from the tank. Just as he thought his fate was sealed, he collided with a second air tank. Frantically driving the tank into his mouth, he gasped for oxygen. He also took in a mouthful of oil as the tank scraped across the residue coating the pipeline. He swallowed it, gagging, but now had oxygen in hand. He pushed on frantically. Minutes passed, each more agonizing than the last. It was only a short swim of 10 to 20 meters before Chris collided with something. The upward bend of the pipeline. He'd made it to one of the berths. Unsure if he was at berth 5 or 6, he knew he was moments away from discovering either escape or certain death. As he headed up the vertical section of the pipe, he didn't find the inflatable plug that would have been in place sealing berth 5. He'd found the dive chamber, but to his astonishment, no rescue team was there to meet him. His heart sank. He dropped the half-full tank below him, knowing it would descend slowly in case Faisal was surfacing beneath him. But as he reached out to pull himself out of the pipeline, he found the rim of the pipe sat just inches out of reach. Exhausted, he clung to a chain hanging in place and prayed someone would find him. Time passed agonizingly slowly as he sat in the darkness. Then suddenly, he heard a knock on the outside of the pipeline. Instinctively, he knocked back. Close to blacking out, faint and exhausted, a light suddenly emerged into the dive chamber above. At 6 p.m., more than 2 hours after the initial incident, Chris was finally pulled free. The crews on the dive barge hauled him aboard. He was battered, covered in oil, coughing up water, but alive. He immediately told them that 4 other men were still down there, alive as far as he knew. He pleaded with them to mount a rescue immediately. Divers topside were gearing up to do just that. Several volunteers, including the son of one of the trapped men, were getting ready to go back down to the habitat and into the pipe. Because with every passing minute, the available oxygen remaining in the pipeline was dwindling.
First, a short dive attempt was made to the bottom of the elbow, where the air tank Chris had dropped was retrieved. Some accounts also tell of divers knocking on the outside of the pipeline at various points and hearing knocks back from the trapped men inside. But then, shockingly, at this critical moment in the rescue effort, it was halted. The officials in charge of Paria Fuel Trading decided it was too dangerous to send in rescue divers. They claimed There was no commercial dive equipment available on site. Instead of an immediate rescue, a slow, cautious approach was taken. Despite the arrival between 6 and 7 p.m. of 2 further dive vessels, both fully equipped with commercial diving equipment, the company issued a total ban on diving. They feared a secondary Delta P event could still occur. Around 8 p.m., bangs were heard on the pipeline near Berth 5. Hearing of the accident, families of the divers waited in the refinery car park, desperate for news. Later that night, the dive team brought in an ROV to the entrance of Berth 6 and tried to probe the pipeline to locate the men. This process took several hours and ultimately failed when the ROV became tangled in one of the oxygen tanks remaining in the pipeline. At 2:30 a.m., now on Saturday, bangs were again heard at the riser pipe of Berth 5. All through the night of February 25th and into the weekend, families and colleagues of the trapped men waited in agony for news. But Paria didn't communicate with them. Hope remained that maybe the 4 divers had found a stable air pocket and could survive for many more hours. Divers on standby were reportedly itching to go, some even willing to take the risk and dive without official approval. Unsubstantiated claims suggest that Chris even tried to check himself out of the hospital to mount his own rescue operation. But the command held firm. No divers were allowed back in the pipeline, and equally, no alternative rescue attempts were being made. Inside that pipe, 4 men were running out of air. Picture it again. You're lying on your back in a steel tube 30 inches wide, pitch black, the walls slick with oil. You can hear your friends breathing beside you, the sound echoing off steel. You can hear your own heartbeat. The air is getting thinner with every breath. Your chest tightens, your head pounds. You know people above you know where you are. You heard them knocking. You knocked back. You know rescue is possible because Christopher got out. You know divers are on site. And you wait. Hours pass. The breathing around you gets shallower. Someone stops responding when you call their name. The air tastes wrong. Your vision starts to tunnel, even though you can't see anything anyway. You wait. Finally, after hours of anguished waiting, Paria authorized a plan. They would remove the Berth 5 blind flange, the seal at the mainland end of the pipeline. But there was a problem nobody seemed to consider. In the 13 hours that Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Faisal Kurban, and Rishi Nagasar had spent at the bottom of the pipeline, their bodies had adjusted to the increased pressure of the environment, estimated to be somewhere between 2 and 3 atmospheres of pressure. This pressure was also what was holding the water in place and supporting the last remaining air pockets within the pipeline. At around 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, teams were ordered to remove the Berth 5 flange. In a split second, the pressure in the pipeline dropped from 2 atmospheres to 1. Immediately, the water level in the Berth 6 riser was seen to drop by about 11 meters, as water rushed to redistribute through the pipeline, forcing out remaining air pockets and flooding it entirely. In that moment, the 4 trapped men's fates were sealed. Either they succumbed to the effects of rapid decompression as gas bubbles formed in their blood supply, or as the air pockets collapsed, they simply drowned. It wasn't until 6 p.m. that night, 12 hours later, that families were notified that efforts had moved from rescue to retrieval. On Monday, February 28, 2022, at around 6 p.m., the bodies of Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, and Faisal Kurban were retrieved from the pipeline. The 4th diver, Rishi Nagasar, was retrieved a few days later in the early hours of Thursday, March 3rd. The later autopsies revealed something devastating. All 4 trapped men had survived, at least until Saturday morning. One potentially survived until Monday. They were alive when the flange was removed. They were alive when the water rushed in.
They were alive for hours, possibly days, while meetings were held and decisions were debated. An official commission of inquiry was convened in 2022 to investigate the incident. In late 2023, the findings it delivered were damning.
The commission reported that Paria had no proper rescue plan in place for such an emergency, and that it had not made any real attempt at rescue. During the inquiry, Paria officials stated they had no legal responsibility to rescue the men once the accident had occurred, fearing exposing themselves and the company to greater liability. One exchange during the inquiry became infamous. The commission condemned Paria's actions and inaction as amounting to gross negligence.
How would you rate the management of this incident on that day?
Excellent.
Thank you very much. 4 men died in an incident that you were to manage, and you consider that excellent.
This stance, prioritizing liability concerns over urgent life-saving efforts, outraged the nation.
The balancing act, right?
It might be a different balancing act if it was your father that was in the pipe or your son.
In September 2024, charges were filed against the managers of Paria and LMCS, the company contracted to repair the pipeline. But in June 2025, the Privy Council heard arguments that could determine whether anyone is ever held legally accountable. The statute of limitations for this case is 6 months. The criminal cases brought by Trinidad's Occupational Safety Agency fall outside the 6-month window following the 2023 Commission report. The criminal case may be thrown out entirely on a technicality. As of now, judgment has been reserved. No one has served prison time. Paria has refused to accept liability. They've refused to apologize to the families. Christopher Boodram survived. He spent 3 hours fighting and crawling his way out of that pipe. He testified at the inquiry, weeping as he described the moment he had to pull his foot away from Kazim Ali Jr.'s grip in the darkness.
Can't go no more further like this. There's a lot of water ahead. When you have 2 tanks, you're not sure if the tank's full. I make them understand the situation.
He said later, "Everything inside me hoped a rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue me. He can't dive anymore. He can't even go to the beach. He still receives counseling." 4 men went to work on a Friday afternoon in February. By Monday, they were dead inside a pipe under the ocean. Not because rescue was impossible, not because the situation was hopeless, because the people in charge decided it was too risky to try. Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Faisal Kurban, and Rishi Nagasar died waiting for help that never came. They had time to think, time to hope, time to realize hope was running out. They knocked on the walls of their steel tomb. They heard people knocking back, and then the water rose, and they were gone.
I'm trying to come up. Yeah. Right behind you, man. All right behind you? You're right behind me? Yeah. You don't know when you're come up? It's not going up. Who making all that noise? Come on, all that we let's figure it out. We gotta go. We gotta start moving. But don't worry, all is good. All is good, and you go get rich with this. I'm trying to come out. Huh? Yeah. Who is that more than this? Yusuf? Oh, Yusuf? How long you have to walk before you meet Faizi? You and Faizi was together all the time?
Right now, we are fighting. Right now.
Who else with you?
We are fighting alone.
Cars with you?
Right there.
Right there where? Cars, everything alright with you?
No.
Any items break?
All in.
Your leg, alright. Five, anything happen to you?
Yeah.
A five?
No way.
Yusuf, anything happen to you?
Yeah, boy.
What happened?
Up on break.
Alright. Alright.